Hello, welcome back. Today we'll be discussing about protection of asset manual, physical security chapter, and I'll be dealing with the first chapter today, which is concept in security risk management. Now, here we have to understand that security risk management made before private sector or public sector, maybe it be for dealing with traditional security or cyber security, whatever is the context. In all the context, enterprise security risk management is the most important, which has been developed in 2010. And in enterprise security risk management is basically a holistic approach to look into a security issue, and this actually connects the security professional with the business owner, so that what is in the mind of the business owner is transmitted to the security professional, so that a solution is created which is more viable to handle the risk of the organization. Now, we must understand what is ESRM and what is ERM. ESRM is Enterprise Security Risk Management, which is actually a part of ERM. ERM is Enterprise Risk Management. So enterprise might have a lot of other types of risks, like enterprise may face marketing issues, their issues like finance and other risks. But when coming to physical security or the cyber security, this is actually the ESRM, which is based on a holistic approach to deal with all the types of risk situation of the organization. Now, while managing risk, previously the risk was managed on a program-based security, which is actually when there is a problem, the owner used to tell the security professional to look into a quick fix, so that they used to find out a solution, and they used to solve a security problem. So there were a series of a program-based security which is to be applied to handle the risk of an organization. But ESRM converges everything, and it brings all types of security of an organization under one leadership, so that from the beginning the owner of the organization understands what are the kind of risk he is likely to face for both cyber security or maybe physical security, and then he can allocate his resources to handle those risks. As we all know that in security situation there is a loss event profile, loss event probability, and loss event criticality. So loss event profile means what might go wrong, the events what can affect an organization, and loss event probability is how many times the same negative things may happen to the organization, and loss event criticality is basically that if some risk takes place, what would be the effect on the organization. So basing on this, the security professional makes a risk matrix, or they find out all types of risks which are pertaining to an organization, and then they make a holistic solution, so that whenever there is a risk, so they are prepared well in advance and they can handle it well. Now, next is there are misconceptions about ESRM and the program-based security management. Now, many things that ESRM and program-based security risk management is nothing but joining physical security with cyber security, which is not actually correct. It is basically convergence of both the risks, and bringing those risks in same platform, same under the same leadership, and think it well before in a holistic approach with in consultation with the business owner. So this is not the case that cyber security joins with the physical security makes CSRM, not like that. So it is basically bringing every risk together in one table and then handle it well in advance, think about it, and proactively deal all those things. And as I told you that ESRM and ERM are two different things. ESRM is actually part of ERM, and ERM is actually the total risk of the organization, which may have wider aspects. So these are the two things we must understand. Now there are benefits of ESRM. In ESRM, actually, a business owner is being involved, so he understands his risk better, and security professional works as an advisor to the business owner. Thereby, business owner can understand what might go wrong well in advance, and that's how he allocates the resources to handle all those risks. So next is the security professional. They do not deal this security risks in piecemeal, that is not in program based, that is when something goes wrong they are going for a quick fix. So they actually look into the whole thing in a holistic approach. So this is another advantage of ESRM. Then the resources needed for handling security risks are better allocated. Therefore, in case of an emergency or when there is an issue, the resources are allocated well in advance, so that security professional can handle the situation better than the previous way how they dealt in a program based security. The another advantage is the security professional understands the organization well, because when he discuss with the security risk of the organization with the business owner, he also understands what business owner is actually perceiving, what are the risks he is perceiving, and that's how security professional can well understand what might go wrong apart from conventional normal risks. So that's how the security professional can get a greater view of the organization, and that's how he can plan well in advance, and he becomes more integrated with the system. And this really helps security professional to be a strategic partner of the organization, and this is also another way he becomes visible in the organization, that he can integrate all the security effort together and plan security in a proactive way instead of in a reactive way. So in a nutshell, the organizational owner's involvement is there in ESRM, where the security professional becomes an advisor to the organizational owner, and he integrates all the effort together, and he becomes more visible. He becomes the trusted advisor or trusted partner of the business owner. So that's how security becomes a proactive. Security takes a proactive approach instead of a reactive approach. So that's how security is not being dealt in piecemeal, rather it is dealt in a holistic approach. Now, an organization also gets more benefit than ESRM program, because the organization itself understands the role of security in the organizational setup. They also understands that their security is integrated, and their security plays a very proactive part in the security, and they also feels the integration of security in all aspects of their activities, and when there is a crisis, the management is easier for the organization. So there are many ways that organization also gets benefit out of ESRM based security program. So these are the basic things which are dealt by the security professionals, while while supporting any organization. Now we have to understand the context of the ESRM. There are basically three primary components of ESRM. One is the context of ESRM, the second is the foundation of ESRM, and third is the ESRM cycle. Now, when we talk about the context of ESRM, where the security professional understands the whole business itself, that at which context they are going to apply their security knowledge to protect the organization. So that is the context of the ESRM. The foundation of ESRM is nothing but the mindset of the business owner and the organizational staff about the security. So that also helps the security professionals to get proper support from the organizational staff, the owners and others. And the ESRM cycle is actually nothing but how actually the design, the security, the mitigating approach and other things are being placed when dealing with the risks. So these are the three primary component of ESRM. Now if we go further and try to dig out what is the context of ESRM, then we shall find that the security professional has to understand the mission and vision of the organization. They must understand while pursuing the mission and vision of the organization what a business is likely to face, and they also plan well in advance as to how to deal with unwanted events what the organization might face when they apply ESRM, when they go for their mission and vision, and that's how they try to understand the organization itself very well, that the nature of the organization, how the organization works, and how the organization actually develops their core values and then commit themselves to go for the excellence. So that is very important for security professionals to understand, because if they do not understand the operational aspect of the organization, they cannot place a proper security plan to support the organization. The security professional has to understand the core value of an organization. It is not only that making profit might be the core value of the organization. The brand protection, the importance of safety of the people of the organization, and many more things are included in the core value of the organization. So this has to be understood by the security professionals, because in the ESRM context, if they don't understand what exactly the organization is looking at, so they cannot really integrate their security plan with which can support the core value of the organization. So core value is often defines the culture of the organization as well. So organizational culture and a supportive security plan has to be orchestrated by the security professional, and this is very much important. The operating environment of an organization has to be also understood by the security professional, and the operating environment includes basically two things. One is the physical environment, another is non-physical factor. The physical environment includes the structures and the surrounding areas and all other things. Those all are physically available in the organization, and non-physical factors include the geopolitical environment, external pressure on the industry, the regulatory pressures and all other things which may affect an organizational operation. So this operation or operating environment is a very important thing to be understood by security professionals while planning or designing security for the organization. A security professional has to also understand the stakeholders of the organization. Now, by stakeholders we mean those who all are involved in the organization or those who all are benefited by the organizations. The stakeholder may include the clients, the employees, all those who are involved with this business organization are the stakeholder for the business organization. Now with that, we can now discuss about the ESRM cycle. Now ESRM cycle has got four process. One is identify and prioritize asset. This is the first thing which comes in ESRM cycle. Now a security professional must identify the assets. What are the assets and what are the assets to be guarded, and then he must prioritize those assets, because every asset may not need the equal amount of protection. Then the second thing of the ESRM cycle is identify and prioritize the risk. So after identifying the asset, he has to prioritize the risk involved with all those assets. And then third thing is that he should prioritize the mitigation approach, or mitigate the prioritized risk. So what are the risks he has prioritized, that in third step he should mitigate those risks, and finally he should go for continuous improvement of his security plan or security strategy. So these are the four things which makes the ESRM cycle. Now when identifying the asset and prioritizing the asset, a security professional basically depends on three things. One is the asset owner, because asset owner is the best person who understands the value of his asset and who can perceive the probable risk on his asset. Then the top management also can play a very important role in identifying the assets and prioritizing the assets. And the security professional himself, with his experience, he can also understand what should be the priority of the assets and what is the risk involved in those assets. So these are the three sources from where security professional can identify the asset and can prioritize the risk. Now when he identify and prioritize the asset, he then identify and prioritize the risk. So security professional, with his experience, knowledge, and with consultation with the business owner, he prioritize what are the risks might affect the business in future, and then he go for mitigating approach of those risks. Now in mitigation, he can go for a very various types of plans. He can go for a higher security. So mitigating basically dealing with the risk, whether he is going to accept the risk, whether he is going to transfer the risk, whether he is going to spread the risk, and what is the design he is going to make, and what are the equipments he is going to use to mitigate the risk. So all these things makes the mitigation of the risks. After that, he goes for the continuous improvement of the ESRM cycle, that the plan what he has done, he should keep an eye that this plan, where there is a hiccup, he makes the improvement, so that it as a whole it serves the purpose for the organization. So these are the things which a security organization professional has to look into while planning the ESRM cycle for the organization. Now let us discuss the foundation of ESRM. The foundation of ESRM is basically holistic risk management. As I have discussed, that the whole thing has to be planned in a holistic way, so that business owners, top management, everybody is involved. And partnership, second is the partnership with the stakeholders. So the stakeholders who are involved with the business, they should also understand the process of risk mitigation. They should understand the role of security. They should also follow the policies and procedure developed to deal with the security risks. And the third thing is transparency. So a security professional has to be very transparent. He should exactly tell what are the kind of risk and what will be the consequence, so that the business owner is not surprised when something is some mishappening is taking place. So he has to be transparent, and he has to be transparent in the mitigating process, so that he can exactly explain how transparently he can mitigate the security risks. So last is the governance. Governance is nothing but having proper supervision on the ESRM cycle, and that is one is organizational governance, that organizational plans by the owner through audit and other means. And second is the ESRM governance. ESRM governance is nothing but the process of enterprise security risk policy and direction, allocating resource and ensuring compliances. So these are the things which I wanted to discuss in chapter 1. So that's the probably I have come to the end of chapter 1, and today we have discussed in chapter 1 we have discussed certain things, that concepts of security risk management, where we have discussed the ESRM, the ERM itself. We have discussed about enterprise security risk management, when it was formulated, what is the difference between ESRM and the program based security. We have discussed why this ESRM was adopted, the misconception of ESRM. We have discussed the benefit of this program. We have also discussed how an organization gets benefit from ESRM program. We have discussed the ESRM primary components of the ESRM. There is context, foundation, and ESRM cycle. Then we have discussed the core value of an organization. We have discussed also the operating environment and the stakeholders. We have discussed the ESRM cycle, where there were 4 aspects, that is identify and prioritize assets, identify and prioritize risk, and mitigate prioritize risk, and continuous improvement. And we have also discussed the foundation of ESRM, and then we have discussed like holistic risk management, the partners with the stakeholders, transparency, and about the governance. So that's all about chapter 1 of physical security of protection of asset manual. Thank you very much for being with me. This is a long chapter. I tried to make it as short as possible, and I'm sure with this explanation, if someone is keen and he studies the chapter, he will be able to understand what was intended to be imparted to a security professional by the author of this book. Thank you very much. Be with me, and I'll be coming up with more videos. Thank you.